to Rob Coombe, who is the Group IT Manager for RES Corporation. Now, Rob Coombe is an IT professional who has managed teams to achieve business change through the implementation of global strategic IT projects across the ERP, HR, and infrastructure in functional areas. Rob prides himself on maintaining excellent client relationships and communicates well to all tiers of the business. His specialities include change management, project management, IT strategy, IT governance, Sarbanes-Oxley, COBIT, auditing, business process analysis and management, BPM, team building, and leadership. And today, Rob is going to talk to us about RES Corporation's enterprise information management and analytics journey, where they have recently embarked on a journey to transform and formulate their enterprise information and analytics strategy. This has been a journey punctuated by, as expected, a lot of trials and difficulty along the way. This presentation will serve as a case study of RES Corporation's analytics journey, highlighting the challenges and celebrating the successes. Welcome, Rob.
Hi, everybody. And yeah, great to be here.
Thank you so much. Well, we are all ready and waiting to hear from you.
Great, thank you. So, hi, everybody. Let's see how we do here. There we go, we're working. So, who are we? Royal Eswatini Sugar Corporation is a sugar company in the northeast corner of Eswatini. We make about 437,000 tons of sugar a year. We employ lots of people. We employ both seasonal and casual and permanent employees. We like the old mining town. We run everything. We do schools, we do clinics, we do the roads and hospitals. We have a vision to be the leading Africa's future in sustainable sugar and renewable products. And we have a mission as an agribusiness that we competitively and sustainably add value for all our stakeholders. A little bit of history about this journey. As was mentioned in my intro, it definitely is a journey. We've begun, we're on our way. We certainly haven't got there. So let's see where we started. So before SAP, there was a life before SAP. In 2011, we had one BI application that was implemented. It was 6 months late. It was never used. There was a strategy with SQL and SharePoint, and that was kind of where we were from an information perspective and from an analytics perspective. In 2014, we implemented the SAP ECC suite on HANA, and things started to change. We completed our ECC implementation in October of that year, and by 2014 and in January 2015, we started looking at what we were going to do from an information perspective and a reporting perspective. And we selected BW on HANA and Business Objects as our tools. I'm going to use a little tool today to talk through this journey. I'm going to talk about 4 things all the time. I want to talk about the strategy, what strategy we employed and how that's changed and how that will change. I want to talk about people, the people that are involved from our side or third parties and what they do. I want to talk about organization and how we organized for in our information and analytics and reporting. And I want to talk about culture because I think that's quite important. So in 2015, we built a strategy, we formalized it, we have a strategy document, we have had it approved, and it talked about the methodologies, the tools we were going to use for what type of reports. It talked about the approach that we were going to take. And the approach was really a top-down one where we said, okay, we will write reports for the executives. We'll start with the MD, see what he wants, and we'll build him a dashboard, and he can then drive some of the adoption within SAP and some sort of dashboard reporting. And then we went down, next line executives, and then down to the senior management. It was our strategy. We looked at system, we looked at processes. From a people perspective, we only utilized third-party consultants. We did not do much education either within the IT group or within the business. But what we did do was kick off a business intelligence competency center. So as a strategy, the business intelligence, your information management, your reporting, your analytics, all belongs to the business. So best we create a team within the business. And we selected data stewards and appointed data stewards within the different departments and divisions within our organization. The culture was, and I'm not too sure, we'll see by the end of the presentation where this changed, but the culture was really business requests and IT delivers. They want a report, we write a report, we deliver it, then it gets used. So how did that go? What worked? From a strategy perspective, we had a good set of tools. We were able to build the dashboards that we needed. We were able to show the data. The top-down method worked in terms of giving the top people a view of the organization. But I don't think our utilization, even today, with some of these dashboards, are still in use. They're not used as much as they should. A couple of things which didn't work. Our internal schools were not good enough. We did not build our own people internally. That's both from a business perspective and from an IT perspective. We gave them dashboards. We told them how to click, and we left them to their own devices. And so that's what happened. From an organization perspective, the BICC failed. We did not get buy-in from the data stewards. We did not get buy-in from the business. Still that kind of culture which says, IT, it's your problem, data is wrong, it's your problem, go and fix it. And so we really struggled there. And it was interesting listening to the last speakers who were talking about change management. Certainly from a change management perspective, we never achieved the right kind of buy-in. And a lot of that is that the business believe what they're used to. If you've got a spreadsheet that somebody gives to you and they've been giving to you for the last 5 years, you don't believe what comes on a screen from IT. So yeah, we struggled. They're still there. They still work. It's pretty good, but we didn't roll it all the way down to the organization because we saw that it wasn't a major success. So then in 2018, we re-looked at our strategy and said, okay, let's look at this from a different perspective. Let's look at our information from a different perspective. And what we really did was to look at some of our tools and look at data sources, and we added IoT into our information management mix. So we collected a lot of data. The screen on the right there is all our vehicles running around our cane yards, cane fields, bringing in sugarcane into the factories. A very important part of our business. It's cost about a third of our cost of sugarcane is getting it into the factory. So it's very important that we understand the data that's happening around there. We defined an integration strategy at that stage, both for data which was inside SAP, outside SAP, and integrating into our platforms. From a people perspective, we still use third-party consultants, but we started training our internal staff, putting them on SAP courses. What we did in 2018 as well, from an organization perspective, was to form a BI and IoT department within IT. So where we had people that were maybe responsible for some BI applications at a time. They weren't separated. They still did a lot of other work on other applications. We dedicated a team. The team is now 4 people. Yeah, they're working pretty well. We've got from development side, data side, analyst side, all working together on this journey. And from a culture perspective, we started a massive corporate change management initiative. And we've included IT in our information along the way. Some of the analytics, we did a POC on analytics, which was really interesting. It delivered some very good value. It was fairly static, but it was able to allow us to do things. This is also on the vehicles that we were using, what sort of utilization, they're a very expensive piece of kit. And what was the utilization? How do we have too many? Do we have too few? Are they too expensive? All that sort of analytics we did, got some very good results. The heat map on the right shows the red. That's when the trips were not according to plan, and the red we found was all around weekends and payday. So after payday, the drivers were not driving as well as they should. Green, I think, was a Tuesday. And Mondays are not so good, but the green was on a Tuesday. And that was interesting. It helps you plan. It helps you manage. Very good analytics that we achieved. So again, what worked, what didn't work? From a strategy perspective, I think SAC was a good addition to the tool set. We certainly found value in the analytics. Pretty easy to do, nice visualizations. It was definitely a good addition into the tool set. The internal skills were improving from a people perspective, certainly within IT as well. And it was really good to have that internal organization focused on this particular area. Some of the things that didn't work, again, the business were not involved enough. We involved them a lot in the beginning. They did a lot of the definition work, a lot of the requirement work. We did an agile approach. Stories were good. The data were good. But after that, they seemed to disengage and they were not involved enough. Part of that from an organization perspective within our business, and also part of that from a culture perspective. But what didn't work as well is a data strategy. So we had a strategy from a BI perspective. We had a strategy from a reporting perspective. We didn't necessarily have a strategy around data. And I think that's one of the issues that we looked at and we built. The data doesn't belong to us. I think that's key in this journey, especially from an IoT perspective, and I think in information in general. There are lots of providers out there who will provide you devices, who will provide you endpoints, but they don't provide you with the data. They provide you access to the data, but not actually to the data. And I think that's pretty key. And the other thing which we missed was really around the business translation. So you have data, the data has names. I don't know about all of us, but we're technical people. We can figure out what the different fields mean, what the different diagrams, organizations and things mean. But you actually got to translate that for the business. And we didn't do a good enough job. So on that analytics slide that you showed, we showed that our vehicles involved in harvesting were fully utilized 17% of the time. Now, the business were reporting at 85% utilization. The data showed a 17% utilization. We mistakenly showed that to the business, and that didn't go down well. That must have set us back a good 6 months of negotiating and so on. And that's really just around translation of what is utilization. We could see, we defined utilization, we had it there. Their definition was that plus. And somehow that got lost in translation. So I think it's really important that you understand what the business are meaning and what the data is meaning and tie those two together. In 2019, we branched off into another area, and that was really around modeling. Modeling and analytics are available via BPC. We started implementing BPC in 2019. And interestingly enough, we had put in BW, BI, business objects. We talked about the 2015, but this was our first real use of BW and the BW on HANA, on-premise. Before that, we'd used the live reporting from our ECC on HANA. That was the first time we really started building data in BW. What we had planned to do was to do some modeling and analytics on those structures as we sorted out the data going into BPC. If you're going to be budgeting and planning for items that should cover the business. So we should be able to model the business going forward and to pull some levers and look at bottom line impact from between 5 and 20 years. So that was quite ambitious from a strategy perspective. We also wanted to move some of our reporting to BPC. We wanted to report from BPC as opposed to doing our reporting from SAP, and that's pretty structured around our organization, the way that we report. It would have worked better, and well, it is working better in BPC. From a people perspective, so that was our strategy. From a people perspective, we utilized third-party consultants again. If you're paying attention, you'll notice that we missed out internally from a BPC perspective, so we're going to run into some problems down the line. We didn't make any change into our organization or the business organization, and from a culture perspective, there was no big drive to look at the culture or to see how that implemented BPC. So that's a bit of history. Where are we now? So in 2020, we launched what we call really an Information for Change initiative. How do we utilize the data that we've got? How do we turn that into information to enable us to change our business? We don't have a dynamic change environment, and we're not convert. We make sugar. We're a primary industry. We don't do a lot of change there, but how can we use the information that we've got to change what we do need? We have a corporate strategy, which is to reduce costs. We achieved a 20% cost reduction in the last 5 years, and we aim to achieve another 20% in the next 5 years. And so how can we utilize data and information to assist with that change? One of the things that we did was to implement a strategy management tool on a SAP Cloud platform with SAP Analytic Cloud as to do the reporting and the analytics on there. And we also started developing we call it a dashboard. It's not really a dashboard, but for our Exco, we've started developing what we call operational stories. So we picked up areas of the business that we wanted to look at. One of them is maintenance. Maintenance is a massive cost in a sugar environment. Just to keep those mills running, it's huge. We also have a lot of farm equipment. We own 7,500 houses that we've got to keep in good shape. So maintenance is a massive expense. So we looked at maintenance. We looked at, and just in general procurement as well. What we buy, do some spend analysis. We started there, and we developed some stories around that. From a strategy perspective, we said we want deep drill down capability. At Exco level, you want to start with a picture, but you want to be able to drill down to get answers then and there. There's a tendency from a culture perspective, for any questions are asked, we'll get back to you. And maybe a week later, you get some answers back at an Exco level. So we wanted to be able to drill down there and then and to see what was going on in our business. The people were still third-party consultants, but we did train our internal staff, both IT and business, on our strategy management tool. And we're training up our internal IT on the operational stories there for the Exco. No change in our organization at this stage. From a culture perspective, we got very good change management with the SPEAR project. It's our strategy management project. But we still have a bit of a culture in the business asks and IT delivers. We haven't yet got to the change that I would like to see going forward. We'll talk about that in a while. So this is just some pictures of what it looks like, what our different things look like. I just want to get here. Just some of our tools. So this would be on our maintenance spend visibility story. You have a main page telling you what's happening, what we're spending on. This is SAC tying back to SAP. This data is from our, this slide, sorry, is from our proof of concept where we loaded a couple of years data into the SAP Analytics Cloud, but we're busy connecting SAP directly to SAC, on-premise ECC onto the SAP Analytics Cloud. So this is showing some historical spend and then categories of spend within the business and with the different types of orders that we do. And then there's an easy drill down into some of our, so we're going here from a total spend perspective. On the right-hand side here, we're looking at some of our functional locations at a higher level with all the hierarchy of functional locations within SAP. You can drill down, you can choose a top 10 and so on. And we can drill from there right down into an equipment cost. And you can see the cyclical nature of our business, which is really, we have these annual maintenance shutdowns where the factory is shut down, pulled apart, rebuilt, put together for the next year. And you can see the sawtooth nature of that equipment manufacturing. If we drill down within that equipment, just a click, and we can see where we're spending most of our money. It's also actual versus planned. Yeah, it's very, very useful, very detailed data across all our business. Very easy for the exco to understand. Here on the left is our corporate strategy map, the tool that we built, showing some of the highlights. Green, we're on track with this one. Orange, we're in a bit of a concern, and red, we're not making our targets. So basically, on this screen here, to a large extent, we have our whole business. We have our strategic objectives, measures, initiatives, all within SAP Cloud Platform and SAP Analytics Cloud. And here we've got our day-to-day operational work also within one picture. So lessons learned, and sorry, I just need to go back here so I can see. I've lost you guys. There we go. So the lessons learned, strategy from that perspective. Spear is a good tool. The SAP Cloud Platform works really well. The integration between the SAP Cloud Platform and SAP works well. The stories are good. From an exco perspective, the ability to see those sort of things really works well. And I think we're starting to get very good traction within our internal staff, understanding the data, understanding the models, understanding what we want to deliver for the business. I think that's really great. What didn't work so well, data strategy. We talked data strategy 2018. We actually need to go further and design a data architecture. So it's still a struggle at this stage, and it's something that maybe we always struggle with, but I think we need to get smarter and smarter with it to find the right data, to find the source data that will make our information really speak out, and to find data that is believed by the business is a massive challenge. But yeah, that is ongoing work for us. And really, perhaps it boils down to the business not involved enough still from an organization perspective. Very good business take on the Spear, the strategy tool. We're still getting there with the exco leadership. So where are we going? What are we wanting to do in the future? So we just were speaking about it. We're going to redo our strategy top to bottom, but we know where we want to go. I think it's just the formalities that we need to cover here. We want this single pane of glass. I showed you a single pane of glass almost for the business, where we can see our strategic operational data and information at the right level for the right people. I think that's really important. We also need to look at this business self-service. I think it's so key that the business get to a point where they can deal with this data and transform it and extract information and make decisions on their own, and that we don't have to continually have this business asks, IT delivers. I think the architecture we've spoken about. We want to do our planning and our analytics and our modeling all off the same data structures. When we implemented SAP in 2014, we wanted a single platform for all our transactional data. We've achieved that. Anything that adds value happens in SAP. We want to get to the same place with our planning, analytics, and modeling. Integration is really important, and so we need to look at that. From a tool set perspective, it'll be a hybrid on-premise cloud. We do plan to journey more and more into the cloud, but for the moment, it'll be a hybrid on-premise cloud using BobJ on-premise, and then SAP Analytics Cloud business technology platform going forward. We need to skill up our internal resources. It's incredibly key. And that's not just the IT resources, it's the business resources as well. I think it's imperative that we do that. So one thing I've always said is you cannot outsource your information strategy, you cannot outsource your reporting, you cannot outsource your analytics and because that's really the IP. The IP of the business is all there. And it's impossible to outsource. We actually need to make sure that we build the right skills internally, both technical skills, but also business skills, understanding, and analytic skills. And I think what we also have always believed in is to have excellent strategic partners. This is not a journey that we can do on our own, and we really do need to build those partnerships, and we continue to do so. From an organization perspective, as I said, I think we need a blended information team with both business and technical resources. That needs to be formalized. People need to be appointed. I think that's something that we'll work on. The data is key. The source of data is key. That's one aspect. The other aspect is once you have the data, the information is incredibly valuable. And I think we need to get the culture to understand that and to see that and to push that going forward. How are we going to get there? What are we going to do? What are in part of our plans? We talk about upskilling. I think this next point is key. We need to find the right stories to tell. People are interested in the stories. People are interested in what we can do, what they can find out. We just have to find the right ones. And that's not easy. But I think it's key. We have to start those conversations, keep those conversations going around what are the right stories and how can we best tell them. Data and information architecture I've spoken about. Data sourcing I've spoken about. And we plan to continue to use our excellent tools that are available from SAP at this stage. And the bottom right-hand corner is SPOC. That's what I've been using all the way through here. Strategies and systems, people, organization, and culture. And I think those 4 items are incredibly key. And as we go through, as we use our strategy, as we build our systems, I think those 4 things require a lot of attention. I've been talking now, and I've absolutely no idea on any of my screens how long I've been talking for. Around half an hour. So I have some just about right. Happy to take any questions.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Rob. That was amazing. Thank you for sharing those learnings. It's amazing to see the path of growth and change. And we do have a couple of questions here. So firstly, we've got Sarah Perry who says, "Hi, Rob. I would like clarity on what you meant when you said the data didn't belong to you. What kind of data was this?"
So, hi, Siri. So take, for example, with the vehicles. We put sensors on 115 vehicles, and they were sending data up to the cloud, I think at sort of 3-minute intervals. There's incredibly useful data. That's where they were, how fast they're traveling, are they stopped at the local shebeen? No, that wasn't in there, but we could tell from the GIS how we got there. And that data then went on to a database which didn't belong to us. So we have another, I think it's 300 vehicles on a different system, which is even more difficult to get the data out. So the data is ours. Yes, it belongs to us, and we managed to get copies of all of that data, but it's not ours live. We don't have access to it immediately. So the one system, we have to build some APIs, and the APIs, that's fine. That's part of our job. But those APIs only gave us the data 5 minutes later. Now, if you're talking about stopping the mill, that will cost us 100,000 Rand just to stop it. We don't have 5 minutes to wait. We need that data. So that's what I'm saying from that perspective. We have probes which do water analysis in our field. So what's the moisture content? That data goes off somewhere else. We have to go and fetch it to bring it back. One of the reasons why we think it's incredibly key is that data on its own is useful, but it's much more valuable when you start integrating it with your other systems. And if you can't get it straight away, you then hamstrung. So yeah, that's what I mean when I said the data is not ours. It's sitting out there in somebody else's cloud. Somebody else has got access. You have to get permission. You have to write things. It makes it complicated. I hope that answers the question.
It does beautifully. Thank you. The next question is from Sean van der Merwe, and it says, how is the stability and integrity of your dashboards? How is the business trust in what they see?
So lots of questions there. Integrity is interesting. When we started in 2014, well, we started the SAP journey in 2013, really went live in 2014. Most of the work was done in 2014. We said that everything must happen in SAP, and we achieved that. Every single transaction since then has happened in SAP. When it comes to reporting now, we can report out of SAP, but the business have got their own sideline reports. I'm sure it happens everywhere. There are plenty of spreadsheets and so on. So what we report, we are happy on, because it's what is in SAP, it's what's driving the financial data. So we are happy, but the business have their own sideline spreadsheets, we believe in our data, they don't. And that's we're in a data situation which is terrible, but it's kind of where we're at. So the stability, both on-premise and in SAC, has been excellent. We've had no issues with stability or data getting messed up from that perspective, from a technical perspective. And that trust is a massive issue. Today we're talking, we're looking at some of the reporting on the BPC, and how do we get the data that the business are reporting and the data that we're getting out of BPC, how do we get those two aligned? And a lot of it is around process, and a lot of it is around, it's just a slog in terms of working hard with the business to understand why their data is different. Eventually, you get the same data because we get audited. Everything is okay at the end, but that journey along the line is so important to involve the business and go down to the details. Say, why don't they believe your data, and understand that? And as we're talking this morning, it's really around process. So the data comes into SAP. Sometimes they confirm things in SAP that actually haven't happened. They know it's going to happen, they confirm it, but they're reporting to a different system which says it hasn't happened. And so a lot of work with the business between the BI team. I feel quite sorry for them. I keep challenging them to say, okay, go and find out, go and work with the business, go and understand, go and change some processes. So how do we report? When do we report into SAP? We need to change it so that it's accurate. SAP should reflect the reality on the ground, and then we can report in our other systems. So where we've done that work, it's okay. We get very good results. Where we still got that work to do, we've still got work to do. So keeps us young.
Keeps you young. Wonderful. So here's the culture question. I was hoping someone was going to ask it. So Mabuchi Zulu says, hi, Rob. What was the collaboration with business before and after these implementations? How are you addressing the organizational culture to improve collaborations?
Yeah, thank you, Majuba. So it's been an interesting one. This is still a journey. I'll give an example of when we implemented our IoT and we started getting our data there. We started off with some great partners, and we sat down and we decided we were going to do an agile implementation, and that we would use design thinking. So we called the managers to a meeting. So now this is a mix of engineers, farmers, not the most. Well, now I'm going to be in trouble now. Anyway, we called the managers together. We put them in a meeting. We started the design thinking session, and it was like ice. And people got up at the end of the first day and they said, no, we've done this before. We've done sticky notes. We've done this. We've told you. In fact, we told you 15 years ago what we do. Why are we telling you again? You should just go back and take the notes. And we met as a team that night, and we weren't particularly happy. But somehow during the course of the second day, a very good leader, the guys started getting buy-in, and it was amazing. It was a 3-day session. By the end of the third day, we were getting information that we needed. We were getting buy-in. They were pulling other people into the meetings. There was a huge level of involvement and buy-in, and that was great. So from a culture perspective, we needed to work together. That's never been the case in our organization, but we could see it coming through the design thinking session. So we achieved a lot there. Then I think we made a mistake in that we went away to develop a solution, and we didn't follow as closely as we should. We probably put Agile in with not enough experience and not enough thought for the type of organization, and that we lost the business during that process of building the systems. And we got to the end, and they didn't like what they saw. They didn't think they were part of it, and so we lost it. So now we build that again, and we start again, and we go. So I think the key to that culture is you need to make sure that you're pitching things at the level of the culture within the organization. That's the one thing, but it's a continuous process. You need to keep engaging. You need to keep talking. We do have a corporate change management initiative across the board, across the business, trying to make the whole business change agile. And I think that's also key as an organization, very conservative organization, being in a primary industry. We need to change. Everybody's changing. So there's a corporate initiative, and that we do through gamification. We do through modules. There's a lot of key corporate change management happening, which assists us. I think an IT perspective is just to keep that engagement as close as possible. I think that's a key for me.
Wonderful. So next question. I see we have 5 minutes left. We squeeze in another question. Dion Dupriya says, hi, Rob. Data ownership in business seems a clear issue. What is your advice to change the perception that business asks and IT does? In other words, encourage business ownership of the data.
Hey, Dion, welcome. I'll say hello. What we're trying to do now, and the efforts that we really are working very hard at, is to understand what the business are delivering from a data and information perspective. I think we haven't done enough of that in the journey to date. So how are they reporting? If we use that analytics, or if we use the utilization of the vehicles as an example, we said 17%, they said 80%. We didn't listen necessarily to them about how they got that 80 and to understand it. Now, some of it, sometimes you have to say, look, you guys are fudging it. This is what the system tells you. But as you also need to understand it. So we're doing a huge amount of work at the moment. Every report that we write, every system that we implement, any change that we make, we're working very hard at understanding what the current reporting is like and what the system is telling us, and to understand those differences and understand those processes or the outside interventions that take place, or the manual work that takes place. the only way that we can get there is to have an understanding of where the business are. That doesn't mean we compromise. It's got to be an SAP. That's where we're reporting from. If it doesn't, not an SAP, we can't do it. We have to stick to that gun, because otherwise we will. It's a little bit too much chaos. But what we're doing now is really working hard at trying to understand what the business are doing. And once I think they've understood that, and they see the difference, and they see that, yes, we can report, and yes, it's okay. And well, it's a lot easier to just press a button in the system than to do all your manual interventions. Then you start to get that buy-in. So it's slowly. We're looking for some key kind of personnel within the business and some success stories, and we're telling those stories, and we've had some good stories. And so that's kind of how we're building it.
Wonderful. Well, Rob, thank you so much for your time and for sharing your learnings. I think so valuable, everything that you've said. And we appreciate your time.